happy to talk to you about the subject of sustainability, because there's so many unintended consequences for our humanitarian aid projects when we don't look at sustainability. And one of the things we do is that we rob people of the dignity of their own voice. I've been guilty of that myself, thinking I had a better idea, that I was the smartest person in the room, which actually the smartest person in the room were the people that were trying to help, because they know more about the situation than we do. So we don't want to rob them of their voices, and we want to empower them to take advantage of opportunities that maybe we can provide. So I want to tell you a story about children in Bali, Indonesia, that I was trying to help with the education. And thank you, Helene, for talking about the blood bank. That's how I became first acquainted with Indonesia, and had dozens of trips back and forth since then. But after that blood bank was built, then the Rotarians in the district in Indonesia contacted me with a report from the United Nations. And the report said that the children of Indonesia, they're in jeopardy of losing an entire generation due to malnutrition and lack of education. And would we help? Would our district be willing to help? Well, they also sent me, well, you know, this was a United Nations report, so it was a big deal to me. And they, back in the day when we're faxing things back and forth, and it made a big impact on me. So they also told me that the children of Indonesia can go to school for $60 a year. And for that $60, it would pay for their uniform, their shoes, their books, a cup of rice a day, a small portion of meat twice a week, and a nutritional supplement. $60 per child. I could really get my heart into this and just thought, like, who wouldn't? I'm sure any one of you, if I asked you for $60 for a child to go to school for a year, you'd contribute. So I thought it would be an easy way to raise, an easy cause to raise money. And I was right. I intended to raise about $1,200, send about 20 children to school. And as things work with me, projects grow and grow and grow. Turned out we ended up with 1,200 children, and a budget every year for me of $72,000. So because I went to the villages and I would see children that couldn't go to school, and I would just think for $60 we could get them there. And so I talked to the elders in the village and said, you know what, we're gonna put every child in school. And so I really thought that there were maybe 200 kids, but there were 1,200 kids. So that was, you know, like, count little noses before you make these promises to people. So I came home and told my club, and other clubs went all over our district to raise money for these children. So by the end of all that, we got our money, we got all of the children in school, but that was like at about the 3-year mark, we were able to get everybody in school. I took pictures of these children, and every club had their own pictures of their school children in school. They were happy, I was happy. So the donors were happy, I thought the villagers were happy, and I was happy. Then finally, about the 3rd year, this rice farmer came up to Freddie Subianto, who was my coworker, but he was in Indonesia. He was in the Rotary Club there, and said, do you really want to help? Does she really want to help? And so, but he said it in Indonesian, so thank God I didn't hear it. And so Freddie said, yeah. And so those two were carrying on. And so later I asked Freddie, what did he want? And he said he wanted to know if we really wanted to help. And I thought, holy cow, like, I'm taking this on all by myself. Yes, I really want to help. I really am here for a reason. So he said, if she really wants to help, I need a water buffalo. And I said, well, that's interesting, but we're not doing livestock, okay? We're just doing education right now, and that's enough for me. But just out of curiosity, I asked Freddie, why does he want a water buffalo? And he said he wants a water buffalo because it would be like having a John Deere tractor for us if we got a John Deere tractor in the United States. And so he would then be able to triple his rice crop and pay for his own 3 children to go to school. And I thought, well, that's interesting. But, you know, if any of you have been busy raising money, you know, you don't like generally change in the middle. I didn't see myself going back to my club and saying, hey, I got a really good idea now. Let's get a water buffalo for this guy. And I kept thinking it's only $180, you know, that'll cut out of my $72,000. It's really not that much. But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought that I would get him the water buffalo, but I would get it. So I asked my family for Christmas money and all that kind of thing, and told them about Freddie and the water buffalo. And they thought like I hadn't taken my malaria medication or whatever. But anyway, they gave me the $250 in a little box all in one. So it looked like a fortune. And they said, don't spend it all in one place. But I did. I sent it off to Freddie. Freddie got the water buffalo and it was amazing, but I kind of forgot about it. And then when I went the next spring to get the kids signed up again for another year and all of my money to make all that good, the rice farmer wanted me to come into the, Nyoman is his name, wanted me to come into the rice fields with him, which I don't like to do because they just flooded them and they're mucky and ooky, and I had on kind of cute shoes. And so I didn't really want to go there, but I did, followed him in there. And so I'm looking out for the green snakes and all that, and got to, here's like this big, huge water buffalo deep in the mud with me. And Nyoman said, Ibu Marilyn, Ibu Marilyn, Ibu Marilyn, Ibu Marilyn. And I looked at Freddie and said, did he name his water buffalo after me? And he said, yeah, that's Ibu Marilyn in the rice fields now. So that was pretty cool. But then I thought about, wow, you know, like it took somebody 3 years to approach me or even have me listen to what they had to say. And then I thought about, well, then after that, I'll tell you the rest of the story. After that, the women wanted piglets. And so for $180, I could get them piglets. And so that was my birthday money. And then the kids wanted hens so they could sell salt eggs on the street. And at the end of 3 more years, the water buffalo was doing his job. The piglets were doing their job. I mean, there's a lot of in-between stories, and the hens were doing their job. So for less than $1,000, actually it was less than $500, that village became totally sustainable and was able to send their own children to school. Seriously, so I'm jumping around over here trying to get $72,000 every year for these people. And I felt good about it. And I thought the clubs felt good about it. And I thought the children and the families felt good about it. But really, the shameful thing is I never once asked the people if they had any ideas about how to get these kids in school. I should have gone to them and said, looks like the United Nations believes you have a problem here, getting these children in school. Got any ideas? Then Nyoman could have come up to me and he could have said, yeah, if you get me a water buffalo, I can get my own kids in school. So that was robbing people of dignity, robbing people of their voice, of their ability towards self-determination, because I thought I knew the answer for them. And I guess what I was telling them is, you have a problem here. You just sit right there. I'm going to run home and get some money. And I'm going to do that for how many years in a row? How long am I going to be willing to do this? How long are my donors going to be able to do this? I would go to sleep at night and think, what if they don't learn? What if my donors get bored with me? And then the kids didn't learn to read this year, or they didn't learn their math, or they didn't learn something really important for them. And it was all on me. But when they became self-sustainable, it was like the liberation of me and also their own liberation. And so when I would go there, before, people would just look down and make sure their name was on the list and not look at me. That year that the rice farmer, Nyoman, was able to get his own children in school, his wife stood in line with all the other mothers, and she got to the front of the line and she said, no, we don't need to put your name on the list because we're paying for our children to go to school. And she wanted to make sure I crossed their name off the list. She had so much pride and dignity. And you know what? That's the first time a mother in that line made eye contact with me. She made eye contact with me because she had pride and dignity, and she wasn't so dependent on me to do something for her. And that pride and dignity looked so much better on their faces than on my face. And so it was a huge lesson for me. And I had to keep going, I'm trying to watch my time here, had to keep going back for looking at other projects that I'd been involved with in Nicaragua and Bangladesh, Indonesia, all over the place, and started to look for sustainability in those projects. Couldn't find it. So if we weren't right there doing what it was we were doing at all times, the project would fall apart. And so later I started to give myself this sentence in my head that I would look at a project and I would think, what's going to happen to this project if I walk away? Will it be sustainable? Will the people be independent? Will they be able to carry this on without us? And that's when I thought we just have to deal with opportunity. We have to change that train of charity where we're giving all of this away, and we need to turn to opportunity, because when we provide opportunity, it empowers other people to help themselves. And when they're helping themselves, they come up with the best ideas. And so I've been really involved with microfinance, and they have come up. I've done it domestically in the city of Detroit and up in Traverse City, where I live in our poorest surrounding county, and have worked with them internationally. And it is just an amazing thing to give out a teeny little microloan, education, and an opportunity. These people thrive. I will say this, I don't want them to be on microfinance or given money without some financial education. I want them to understand what that's all about and to be able to move forward with that. So the education part of it is huge. None of us can start a business without education, right? I don't know why we think we just give them $100 and they can start a loan and everything will be fine. That's not how it works. Now, I wish that I could tell you that all projects that were meant to be sustainable are sustainable, and that's the way it goes. And we could have done much worse with Ibu Marilyn and Naomi. He could have decided, and it's been done in villages before, to just have a big village barbecue. The women could have decided that they're just going to slaughter the pigs one at a time and feed the families. There's a lot of things that could have happened, but the women bred the pigs, sold pigs to other villages, and then had an income that was then dedicated to the education of their children. And that's how they got ahead with it. And it was amazing. But none of this, there were so many ways for this to go wrong. And one of the reasons why it didn't go wrong is because the Rotarians in Bali, Indonesia, took up the slack in terms of understanding these people's businesses, teaching them financial literacy skills, and having some kind of accountability and the insurance that they would be paying back their loans. But they have to pay back the loans with the profitability of whatever their business is, whether it's selling pigs or Naomi who's selling extra rice and all that kind of thing. When they do that, these people become leaders in their community. And I'm finally old enough to see the difference in their eyes and the difference in how they are when they're finally on their own and picking up for themselves and taking advantage of opportunities. You know, we say, like in the United States, the land of opportunity. Well, opportunity is not all, we're not all created equal with that opportunity thing. We all don't have the same opportunities. It's the same way around the world. But we can be in a position as Rotarians to provide an opportunity for people to then be involved in a sustainable project, so that when I go back to that village in Indonesia, they hardly even recognize me anymore, because they're so wonderful. They're just doing their thing, and they're doing what they were meant to do, and that's take care of their families. All they needed was an opportunity. But before they got that opportunity, I had to learn to listen to them. And that's why I think Rotary is so big on community assessment. If I had just done a community assessment and asked them what it was, that they needed, how we can make this work for them, they would have told me. But I spent 3-4 miserable years every year going after chasing $72,000 down and telling the story of the children, which was a heartfelt story, and people really want to contribute. But the deal is, these people had ideas of their own. I just wasn't listening. And so that's what I would say. Make sure that we give them the dignity of listening and provide an opportunity for them to be able to make this happen for themselves. So I'll end with my Margaret Mead quote on never doubt the ability of a small group of committed citizens to change the world. It's the only thing that ever has. And that's us people. We're that small group of committed citizens to change the world through opportunity. So that's what I got.
Any questions for Marilyn? And you put your hand up, and Marilyn, can you see the?
Oh, yes, I can. Just a minute. I didn't see if there were questions there, though.
There's Helene.
Yeah, Marilyn, I'd like to know why the water buffalo. I understand the pigs and the chickens, but why the water buffalo?
Because Naaman was a rice farmer and he was doing everything with just a hole that he was moving through the field. But if we had, so if he had the water buffalo, he could then triple his rice crop and bring in more money to send his children to school.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Alicia.
Thank you for that, Madeline. I'm also in Florida. I couldn't unmute my video camera for some reason. Technology's not working.
Okay.
But thank you for that wonderful presentation. And of course, we understand that when we do things internationally, our dollars go a lot further than they do for us locally.
Sure.
So I don't know if you've got any ideas. I mean, it sounds like you're a venture capitalist going to these international companies and giving them the hand up. And getting them going. I'm just wondering, have you done any local projects similar?
I have in that, I took a model that we had developed in Guatemala, that a lot of it's off the a reproduction of the Grameen Bank. I don't know if you've heard about them in with Muhammad Yunus, who won a Nobel Peace Prize for his microfinance project in Bangladesh. But anyway, I took the model that we used in Guatemala and applied it to the city of Detroit, and worked with underserved entrepreneurs and their Rotary clubs. And they got their financial literacy skills from a local community college for free. And they started their whole program, which is, they're looking at it all over the world. We've got it in 6 different cities in the United States now. And then Ireland and Great Britain were looking at it this last winter. I'm not sure if they instituted anything or not. Yeah, I think like if I had a dream come true, every Rotary district in the world would create a microfinance program for their underserved entrepreneurs, not non-traditional borrowers, that don't have a credit history.
Oh, I know all about that. I know all about that, Marilyn. I'm one of those people. I couldn't get money from a bank to do a startup. So we have a company called maxsold.com that came from venture capitalists, not from a bank. Yeah.
Well, good for you.
And so I'm really interested in that. And if you could maybe send some information my way, I'd like to have a closer look at that.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, John Bosch.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. It's great to meet you, even if it's vicariously, because I can honestly say I have read your book.
Yeah.
I went looking for it, but I couldn't find it fast enough. So there it is. Great. Okay. And if you get a chance, I didn't recognize your name when the title didn't lead me to the book, or I would have maybe found it. But anyways, thanks. I really enjoyed your talk.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Isha, do you have another question?
No, I don't, but I do want to comment on Detroit. Sorry, you've done an amazing job there, because I know Detroit was in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. They were. They're doing. Yeah, their underserved entrepreneurs are doing very well. They're being written up in all kinds of business magazines.
A lot of IT. Is that correct?
Some of them are IT. We have a IT person who has his master's from Wayne State University, and he was one of our borrowers. He's a Black man that couldn't get any money, and we did $2,500, and that got him started in business. And now he serves people that have computer needs in inner city Detroit, because the Geek Squad and other consultants wouldn't come to inner city Detroit. And that's his entire business, and he's doing great.
Well, Madeline, this was wonderful.